Okay, guys. Today let's see about AWS Route 53. Okay, so Route 53 is nothing but it is the domain naming system. Okay, domain naming system of AWS. So what exactly is domain naming system? So for example, let's take this one. Route 53. Okay, so route means sending the traffic, and 53. Why does it have number 53? So in case if you are taking SSH, okay, the port number is 22. Okay. In case if you take HTTP, it is port 80. Okay. And in case if you take HTTPS, then port number is 443. Okay. Similarly, for DNS, the port number is 53. Okay. So because of that, they have named it as Route 53. Okay, if you come here, DNS port number. So DNS port number, the default port number of DNS is 53. Okay, so because of that, they have kept the name as Route 53. Okay, so what does this Route 53 does? So normally we have our system. Okay, for example, if we are using our system, so systems will understand only numbers. Okay, like so for example, if you take our laptop, it will be like 192.1.1.1, and if you have to communicate with any of our friends, then his system may be like 192.1.1.2. So when we give this when we send any data, the data will be sent from this IP address to this IP address. Okay, so the machines will only understand these things, like it will understand only zeros and ones, and those things are converted into decimal and it will be sent. Okay, so similarly, let's take any of the website, for example, Amazon. Okay, so its IP address will be 179.1.168.73, and Google. So if you take google.com, it will be like 91.73.67.98. And if you take some other Facebook or something, it will have random numbers. Okay, so we can't remember these numbers. Okay, so anyway, like as a humans, it is impossible to remember these numbers. Okay, but in case if we think of amazon.com, google.com, facebook.com, it is very easy to remember, right? So this amazon.com, google.com, facebook.com, these are the domain names. Okay, domain names, domain names. Okay, so domain names means just like this: www.amazon.com, facebook.com, and google.com. So these are the domain names. uh, it is just for human reference. Okay, when we just type www.amazon.com, it will route the traffic to this IP address. Okay, from this IP address, it will go to the web application which is hosted there. Okay, okay, so when we just try to hit this any of the domain names, this domain name, it will route the traffic to this IP address, and then it will reach the destination. So what does route 53 does? Route 53 helps us in configuring the domain naming system with respect to AWS. Okay, so Route 53 is highly available and scalable domain naming system. Okay, it is offered by AWS. And what key components of Route 53? Okay, in Route 53 we have few components like hosted zones. So hosted zones are nothing but it is like a container. Okay, it is like a container. It will have two types. Okay, one is public hosted zone and private hosted zone. So in case if you want to contact your like in case if you want to define your website to be accessible to the public, then you can host it in the public hosted zone. In case if it is to be like internal communication, then you can host it in the private hosted zone. Okay, and then we will have the DNS records. Okay, DNS records are nothing but like we have different types. For example, we have something called a record. Okay, address record. This is like for IPv4 addresses. In case if your website or something is hosted on IPv4 address, then you can configure a record. Okay, and then we have something called AAA. This is for IPv6 record. Okay, the like few of the AWS resources, and in case if you have IP address with respect to IPv6, then you can use AAA record. Okay, and canonical name. Okay, this is like, for example, you have like facebook.com, but the same thing, it has to be assigned to www.facebook.com or www.facebook.net. Okay, so it will map a domain to another domain. Okay, so in case if you have a domain, for example, facebook.com, even when a user try to access facebook.net, okay, he should be able to access the site, like same site. Okay, so we can configure that using canonical name. Okay, and then we have something called mx is mail exchange. In case if you have any of the mail servers, okay, like exchange servers, then you can configure it using this mx record. Okay, and then we have text records and name servers. Okay, these are for dns servers. Naming servers are like dns servers. And we have to configure health checks. Okay, for example, uh, we have amazon application. So for example, we have it in two locations, one in america and another in asia. Okay, so for example, here they are having www.amazon.com. Okay, and here also they have amazon.com. Okay, so we have an user. Okay, we have an user. This user is in us. Okay, he tries to access amazon.com. Okay, it will try to go to this site which is located in us, but in case due to some issue this is down. Okay, so he shouldn't get error. Okay, then he has to be routed to another domain. Okay, like which is located in asia. Okay, so that he will have continuous service, and you will be able to access these things. So what we have to do, in case if this host it is gone, then actually it should route to some other domain. Okay, how do we configure those things? We configure health checks. Okay, so it will when we configure the health checks, it will point to particular path and it will check regularly, like in case if the server is accessible, whether it is having the heartbeats. In case if the heartbeats are missing continuously, like for 3 times, for like 5 seconds each, or like for continuously for certain time, then actually it will consider this site as dead, and it will route all the traffics to asia. For example, in the next user, when the next second user who comes and access this amazon.com, it will not go here. Okay, it will directly go here. Directly it will go into asia domain. Okay, this is how these health checks will be helpful. So Route 53 can monitor the health of your endpoint. Okay, in case if you have an application, it will monitor the endpoint, and in case if there is unhealthy, then you can route the traffic to other locations. Okay, and then we have something called route policies. Okay, so for example, here user is trying to access the amazon.com from us location, is not able to access, then it is going to asia location. But it is not the situation all the time. Okay, for example, we have an server. Okay, this is us, and this is, let's consider india. Okay, we have a user. Okay, let's consider we have lots of users. Okay, they try to access this one. So how the traffic will go from for us and india? So it will go to us and india based on route 53 rules. Okay, so this route 53 policies are like simple routing. Okay, just it will return a single value for the query. Like in case if you are configuring it as simple routing, the traffic it will go to US or else it will go to India. Randomly it will send to US and randomly it will send to India. Okay. But weighted routing. So what is weighted routing? For example, these three users, here we have three users, right? So these three users, they are creating 100% of traffic. Okay, they are creating 100% of traffic. Now we have to configure weighted split. Okay, then what you can tell, you can define like, you can configure 50% of traffic should go to US and 50% of traffic should go to India. Otherwise, you can configure like 70% of traffic should go to US and 30% of traffic should go to India. So weight, like you can define the weight, like how much weight of traffic should go to us and how much traffic should go to india. Why we will define 70% traffic to us and 30% traffic to india? In case if we have, for example, we have data center in us, there let's consider we have 10 servers. Okay, in case if we have 10 servers and in india we have only 5 servers, then it is correct to send 70% of traffic to US and 30% traffic to India, because here the compute capacity is more, so it can handle more traffic. In case if you have only 5 servers, then only 30% traffic it can handle, so it is good. Otherwise, in case if you are sending 70% traffic here and 30% traffic here, always these five servers will be like 100% utilized, and this will be like only like 30% or 40% utilized. Okay, so in case if you have to split based on weight, you can split it like that. Okay, and then we have latency based routing. Okay, latency based means, for example, you are trying to send data to US, but the end user is receiving it with some delay. Okay, so what it will do, okay, there is some issue in US server, there is a latency, so for the next time when the user requests, it will directly send to India. Okay, so this is called latency based routing. Okay, in case if there is some delay, then it will send to the another server which is available near to that one. Okay, and then failover routing means, for example, if the server is not responding and it is failed, so it will send requests only to US, it will not send to India. Even all the users who send data, it will directly send to US, because it will be marked as failure, because we will be configuring heartbeats, everything. In case if it fails, then actually it will not send to India location. Okay, so that is called failover routing. And geolocation routing. Okay, geolocation means geology. Like for example, a user who is in US. Okay, this guy is in US and this guy is in India. Okay, if this guy is this guy requests something, if it goes to India, or else if this guy requests something, if it goes to US, then both of them they will be having delays, they will be having delay, right, in the response. So what it should be, it should be like geolocation based. Okay, so in case if this guy is in US, the request should always go to US, so that the response will be fast. If this guy is in India, the always it should go to India or else the nearest location. In case if servers are in Sri Lanka, which is close to India, right, so it should go to Sri Lanka instead of going to US. Okay, that is called a geolocation based routing. And geo proximity is allows to shift traffic based on how it is goes. And multi-value answering. Okay, so just know these things. Okay, like based on this we will be configuring like how the traffic should be routed. Okay, and domain registration. In case if you want to configure this route 53, you should have a domain. Okay, so you can create a new domain using AWS, or else you can create using some third-party domains like GoDaddy, or else many domain providers are there, right? So using them, you can register your domain. Okay. For example, if you want anything like devops.com, or else devopscloud.com, devopscloud.net, whatever it is, you can register a domain. Okay, but you have to pay fees for that, like annual charges, so that you will get a domain. Okay. So how does Route 53 works? First thing is should have a domain registration. Okay. Once you have the domain registration, then actually you can configure the DNS resolution. Okay. You can, in case if you have an domain like www.example.com, then you can query that, and then you can configure all these routing policies, and then you can configure health checks, and then you can create the DNS records, and then you can create the hosted zones, etc. And then you will be able to configure. Okay. And then you can configure the traffic management using those policies. Okay, so this is how you can like route 53 works. Okay, so you should have a domain, and then all these domain resolutions, and then traffic management, everything will happen. Okay, so where route 53 will be used? So in case if you want to host a website, okay, you can use route 53. Okay, for example, if you want to host a website like www.devops.com, you can host a website, and then you can have availability, like high availability, because it will be spread across multi availability zones, and then you can have high availability. And then you can configure multiple subdomains. Okay, for example, if you are having facebook.com, you can have facebook.net, or else in case if you want like images.facebook.com, like videos.facebook.com, whatever it is, you can configure those things. Okay, and then application health monitoring. In case if the domain goes down, you can monitor those things as well. Okay, so this is how route 53 works. Okay, so let's see it here. We can't do the entire practical because we need the domain. Just we can see how whatever is possible. Okay, so in case if you come here and type route 53. Okay, so we have this one. Okay, just open this one. So here you will be like get started. Okay, so here in case if you want to register a domain, okay, so just select this one and then get started. Okay, so you will be having the page. So here you can search whatever domain you want. Okay, for example, I will search ashokdevops.com. Okay, search. So exact match. Okay, I there is a domain called ashokdevops.com. Okay, but in case if I have to get this domain, I have to pay 14 US dollars. Okay, if you select this one, proceed to checkout. So we have to pay money and then we have to get. Okay, and also it will suggest like other available domains. Okay, ashokdevops.net, .org, .io, whatever it is. Like in case whatever you search, like in case if it is available, it will be showing here. For example, if I search amazon.com, it will not be available because it is already taken, right? So it will not be available. So amazon.com is not available. Similarly, in case if you want certain domain which is like available, you can purchase it directly here. For example, if amazon test123.com, so that is available. Amazon test123.com. If you want, you can select that and you can use, but you have to pay for that one. Okay, this is how you register the domains. So we have discussed here, right? Domain registration. So to work with Route 53, you should have a domain. So you should go with the domain registration. Okay, and Route 53. So in case if you have already created a domain using GoDaddy or something, and if you want to transfer that domain here, you can just click here and then you can transfer, or else you can create hosted zones, everything here. Okay, let me come here, get started. So we have talked about hosted zone, right? So hosted zones are like it is a container. Okay, it will tell like how the traffic should be routed between different domains. Okay, just create this hosted zone, get started. So for example, hosted zone configuration. Let's try to create one hosted zone. Test hosted.com. Okay, and then we can give a description, demo app. Okay, so and then it is asking whether it should be public hosted or private hosted. In case if you have applications, it has to be hosted on private public, you can select this one. In case if it is like for internal communication and within your team, then you can select private hosted zones. So if we have seen here, we have two types of zones. Okay, one is public hosted and another is private hosted. Okay, so routes traffic within a VPC. Okay, and this routes traffic to the internet. Okay, so you can select public hosted zone and then create hosted zone. Okay, so it will be creating the hosted zone. So if we see, we have the records. So we have the DNS servers. Okay, so we have the records here like testhosted.com and type this is naming server. Okay, this is naming server and this is SOA. So here if you come here, you have the DNS servers. Okay, these are the DNS servers which are configured for these hosted zones. Okay, and then we have something called health checks. If you see here, we have health checks. So you can configure the endpoints here. Okay, so create health check. Here you can give some domain. Okay, testhealth.com. Okay, and then you can give the endpoint. In case if you are using IP address, you can give IP address. Okay, 1.1.1.1, or else you can select domain name. For example, if you have domain, you can just select the domain. Okay, let's select this one, and host name like www.testdomain.com. So in case if you have a domain, you can give, and then port number, whatever port number you are trying to access that application. In case if it is HTTPS, you can give it as 443. Okay, and then path. At what path the health check should be configured? For example, Amazon.com slash clothes, Amazon.com slash dresses, like whatever it is. Okay, so they will have some paths, right? Similarly, you can give any paths. For example, they have given images, songs, music, whatever it is. Okay, so for example, if you take music slash music, it will be always checking this path. In case if it is not accessible, then it will be throwing error. So if you see here, the final URL will be like http 1.1.1. This is the your IP address, right? Slash music. So this endpoint it will be always checking, and then in case if there is some issue, then it will throw the error. Okay, so it is asking create alarm, yes or no. Yes, and then how the alarm should be sent using SNS, like simple notification service, or like in case if we already have a notification service, you can select that one, or else you can create a new SNS. Okay, so you can create the topic name. Okay, alert for music domain. Okay, and then you can give the email ID. So based on that email ID, if you create this health check, it will automatically trigger the email in case if that domain is not accessible. Okay, so this is how we configure the health checks. And then we have something called traffic policies. Okay, if you select traffic policies, so create traffic policy. Okay, so test. Okay, I'll just give it as test. Next. So here policies are, so where is this one policy? So these are the policies. Okay, so these are the policies. So we can be like simple routing, weighted, latency, failover, geolocation, whatever it is. So how we can configure this one? So for example, this is the starting point. Okay, for example, you have an application. Okay, you have an application, it is hosted on 1.1.1.1. Okay, let's assume your application is hosted on this one. Okay, so here it is asking IP address in IPv4 format. So let it be like whatever it can be. It can be IPv4, it can be IPv6, CNAME, mail exchange, like MX record or pointer, whatever it is. Okay. Now let me select IPv4 format. Okay. And then connect to this IPv4. It has to connect to like which rule? Okay. Weighted rule, failover rule, geolocation, latency, whatever is. Let's consider weighted rule. Okay. Weighted rule. And then I have to give weight, like how much weight I have to give. Let's assume one is 20% and another is 80%. Okay, 80. And otherwise you can create three also. Okay, let's consider this as like 40, 40, 20, 60. Okay, let's give it as 30. And then add another weight. Now I am giving it as 50. Okay, now we have split of traffic. Okay, 20% of traffic it will go here, 30% it will go here, and 50% it will go here. Okay, now this is source. Okay, this is source, and we have configured the weight rule, and then it has to connect to, again we can give the endpoint, or else we can give this weight to another policy. Okay, for example, we have created the weight. Okay, but it has to go to some geolocation. Okay, you can give geolocation load. Okay, location you can select like Africa, and then you can select it like Asia, and then this one you can select it some other thing. Okay, this is for first one. Okay, so first rule, 20% of traffic will come here. That traffic it will go to like Africa and then Asia. And also you can configure the health checks. Okay, in case if you want to evaluate health checks, you can just check this one. And then this Africa it will go to some endpoint. Okay, new endpoint. Okay, you can select that one, and then you can give the value. For example, here it has started with IPv4 address, right? Now we can give the value. Okay, for example, if it is like see, in case if it is like S3 static website, or else some CloudFront is for in like a cache server. Okay, that one, or else ELB load balancer. In case if you have any load balancer, we can select that one. Let's select application load balancer. Okay, and then values, like we have this some test application load balancer, just select this one. Okay, so traffic will go here. Okay, similarly you can connect to some endpoint, connect to, what is this, connect to new endpoint, and value, like in under value we can give like 2.2.2.2. Okay, so whatever traffic it comes to Asia, it should go to this one. Okay, so now this all these things happen for 20% of traffic. Okay, now we can configure, again we can configure some new endpoint, and then we can give the value like 3.3.3.3. So here I am giving dummy values, but in real time you have to give the real IP address of your application, or else in case if you have some load balancer like network load balancer, classic load balancer, application load balancer, or else CloudFront, or whatever, or else in case if it is S3, you have to select that one, and then you have to configure. Okay, so in case if you select S3 bucket, and then you have to give the name like whichever it is. So in case if 50%, and then you can give new endpoint, and then you can select elastic classic load balancer, and then you can there are no classic load balancer, so it is empty. Okay, and then you can just create traffic policy. Okay, so like that you can when you click on create traffic policy, it will create the policy. So let's create 1.4.4.4.4. Okay, so it has successfully created the traffic policy. Okay, so once the policy is created, then you can create new policy records and all. Okay, so this is it's still creating. So like this we'll be able to create the traffic policies. Okay, and then registered domains, in case if you have any domains registered, you can access it to use here, and then you can configure different things like VPCs, which is referring to this route 53, can be configured here. Okay, so this is the overall um, details of this route 53. So what are the main concepts? So route 53, it will have hosted zones. Okay, hosted zones, like whether it has to be hosted public or private, and then DNS records like a record, AAA record, CNAME, mail exchange, everything. We can configure health checks, and then we can configure the route policies like simple routing, weighted, latency based, failover, geolocation, many things. And domain registration, if you have your own domain, you can create it using GoDaddy or some other domain providing services. Otherwise, you can create it in the AWS environment itself. Okay, and how does this work? You should have a domain, and then you have to configure the DNS resolutions, like all the subdomains, everything should be configured, and then you have to configure the traffic management, like how the traffic should be distributed, like weight based, geolocation based, whatever it is. You have to configure those things. So you can once the application is there, you can host the application using route 53, and then you can route the traffic. Like in case if the users are from US, the latency should be less, and then in case if the user from Africa or Asia is there, you can route the weight based traffic. Okay, and then it is like a multi-region availability is there, so always very high availability will be there for this route 53. Okay, and you can monitor the application using this health monitoring. So that's it, guys, about AWS Route 53.